Well, hello, Rob. You have invited me here today to not play a game, but to gloat about going to a convention that I didn't go to. Because I am slightly better than talking to a wall, which I am honored because maybe
Well, okay.
I'm glad.
All of that is technically true. I'll
Yes.
give you that. I will point out
Well,
that
that's exactly true. Yes.
I will point out that we did talk about you coming to this convention.
Yes.
And
Yes. I could have gone, but I was a coward. I was like,
I don't think Howard.
yeah.
But believe me, this took me way outside of my comfort zone. I went with Len and Scott and our friend Tyler, and Len didn't quite have to drag me there, but he came really close to having to drag me there. I was thinking every step of the way, do I really want to do this? Do I really need to do this? I'm not a convention goer. I've never been to anything this big, and it was huge. There were a lot of people there, and it was very overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So you haven't been to any conventions? Have you? What conventions have you? You've never been to like a comic convention or something?
I've never been, so I've gone to our local convention, the Council of Five Nation, which is a like, I don't, that's like calling, you know, a, oh crap, let me try that again. Like,
Okay.
so I've been to our local convention, the Council of Five Nations. And to say that's a council is kind of like calling a riding lawnmower a car, right?
Right.
Technically, kinda.
Yeah.
It's much smaller, far more regimented, but tiny in comparison. This was a ton of people, a ton of people. No idea what was going on. No idea where anything was. I walked around so much. And like day one, I went for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday was it was overwhelming. I got to play a couple things, but it was just sort of getting a feel for what it is. Day two was actually really disappointing. I feel like I probably walked close to 3 miles back and forth at the convention hall trying to find games to play and just failing.
Yeah. They tricked you. It was actually an athletics convention, and they called it a
That's
gaming convention.
That's right. It's like, hey, how can we get all of these like sedentary introverts to go for a really long hike? We'll put a lot of game booths, a lot of things that you can buy in hard to find places. Yes, that's it exactly.
We are getting down to the horrible truth of PAX Unplugged. It's all about exercise, all about cardiovascular health. They don't care about games at all.
Scott had been there a few times, and so he was serving as our guide. And as we are getting ready for this, he was like, "And be sure to bring plenty of water." I'm like, I mean, they've got to have water there. It's a city. That's one of the points of living in the cities. You have water around. It's like, no, no, bring your water because you're going to be walking a lot and that gets you thirsty.
Oh wow!
Uh,
So second day was disappointment. What was the third day like?
the third day was actually really awesome, and it made up for the second day. So like to sort of explain that, like to me, going to a convention, right? There are sort of two or three things that's sort of the point of it, right?
Okay.
One is to play games that like are brand new, that are, like being shown off by the developers, or the hot stuff that you just wouldn't get to play at a local game night. The other is to play sort of event kind of games that you just don't have the opportunity to play. And the third is to play games with people you wouldn't get to play with normally. And so they have like this great area where you can play first look games. But every time I went by it, there were like 2 or 3 games we were really interested in, and just people were already playing them. They were all full up. And so that was disappointing. There's a game called Blood on the Clock Tower, which is sort of it's like one of those werewolf style games, but kind of on steroids, where everyone has a special role. It's really involved. It looks lots of fun. There's a lot of videos on YouTube about playing it, and I was so excited to get to play that. Except in the booklet, they said it was like a 2-hour session. They cut it off at 1 hour. It was basically a coin flip. Just when things were like getting interesting, they said, okay, this person might be the demon or this person might be a demon. Everyone vote for which side they think should win.
Huh.
You know, that was just hugely disappointing for something that I'd been really looking forward to do. Like there's this, and then there was this game, Starship Captains, which is sort of a faux Star Trek game. Sort of, you go around and do little missions. I was very curious about it, but what it had heard, things on reviews that made me wonder about it. I thought this would be a great time to go to their demo and actually get to try it before buying it or not. But unfortunately, the person, like, we took an entire day to find someone who would teach it to us. And then when we did, he didn't actually know how to run it. He'd only seen it played twice. And on top of that, the game wasn't very good.
Oh dear.
And so it was just a lot of that sort of thing. And now, despite that, like when I did get to play the short version of Blood on the Clock Tower, it was kind of cool until it ended quickly.
Yeah.
And then Len and I, he wanted to play in a coconut tournament, which is sort of like...
What's coconut? I've never heard of this.
So it's this wooden board, and it's kind of like maybe bocce or something, where you have these little discs and you're flicking them towards the center of the board, and you have to either get into these rings to score or knock each other out. It's just a hell of a lot of fun. The boards are beautiful and expensive, so there's no way we're going to get one of those. But the tournament was set up where you're in these pods, and so you get to play. It was a team thing, and so we played this one team. You play 4 games against them, and then 4 games against the next, and then 4 games against the next, and then we, are bad at it compared to these people who are like, we're here for the coconut tournament. But we beat the guys that none of the other people in our pod beat. We did beat them once, so that was our claim to fame. Apparently, my nickname is Johnny or Rob Quattro, because Len erroneously described me as the 4th-ranked coconut player in the country on multiple occasions. And gained
Len's not doing you any favors there. That's Len. So sure, go ahead.
But it was a hell of a lot of fun. And we got to meet this one couple that was sort of, they played it once or twice. They thought it was cute. It was fun. And then a couple that was much more familiar with it. And took it seriously, and then one was freakishly into the game, but just had huge energy, and that was a great experience. So I got to do that, and I don't know if it was I don't know, by Sunday, like, I kind of wanted to go home. I was thinking, if I ever did this again, maybe 2 days would be enough, but that's a lot of money and time or effort for a 2-day thing. But maybe we figured out the convention a little bit better, because we showed up and I rushed right to the first look tables to try to get into this one game that we'd seen and I was really interested in. Scott managed to get a play of it in sometime, and so now he was interested in it, despite me saying, "Hey." Anyways, and it's called Heat. Pedal to the Metal. It's a racing game,
Okay.
and I get there, and the tables are all filled up again, and
Huh.
I'm just looking at this, and I just say out loud, "How early do you have to wake up to play this fucking game?" And somebody there turns to me and says, "I saw a couple copies in the library." So they have this huge library of games that people can check out and play. So I rush to the library and and I'm looking for it. And there's this woman with a copy of it. And I'm like, how early do you have to wake up to play this stupid game? And she's like, there were 2 more copies right over there. I'm like, oh, okay. And so we got to play it. It was so much fun. We bought a copy. It's by the guys who made the game Flamme Rouge, and it's just a really clever game. It's the first race game I ever played that had a catch-up mechanism that makes sense and doesn't feel like you're just sort of dragging somebody along from behind because you have to. It was definitely one of the hits of the game. I did want to say there was this one booth that had these guys dressed up in like gangster noir outfits. It was called, I think, Dead Pluto Games or something like that. And they were just in characters in a sort of film noir 40-ish sort of style. They were a complete riot. Again, I had to come back and back and back to get into the game. The game was pretty good. It was called The Big Shuffle. It's you got to use your influence and your power to change the who, what, and where of a crime. Not a little bit, I think, like Chrononauts, actually. We're trying to create a tableau or a situation that meets your needs, and it might overlap with the people on your left or your right. It's a pretty fun game. The art is spectacular. The production is wonderful. It was illustrated by the guy who created the game. He was there. But I swear to God, the crew there was just so much fun and so engaging that I kind of was like, it doesn't matter how much more fun I get out of the game. Just that experience earned the $30 that the game cost right there. And then, of course, because I'm a sucker, I spent a lot more of that game, the expansions and the playmat and all that sort of thing. So that was an early success. But so I bring all of that up to tell you about my crowning moment.
Okay.
Do you remember Cosmic Encounter?
I remember Cosmic Encounter, yes.
Do you remember it fondly or did you hate it? I can't remember.
I did not hate it.
Okay.
I remember. So my opinion of Cosmic Encounter has always been, it's like Monopoly, but in space.
Oh,
It's a game you play and you hang out with friends, and occasionally someone wins. How that happens is a little confusing, but
oh man, talk about damning with faint praise. Monopoly in space.
Well, it's the same feeling. I was never strategizing at Cosmic Encounter. I was just
you can't.
You're just playing cards, and then eventually the game says, "Guess what? The person who's wins that guy." And you're like, oh, okay, that was fun, and it was weird, and there was all kinds of weird things that happened, and but yeah, I remember it fondly because of the experience, but not so much because of the game. It was a fun thing to play with a bunch of people who didn't take it too seriously, which we were.
Yeah, that I think that actually sums it up really well. I still list it in my heart as one of my favorite games, if not my favorite game.
Mhm.
And I think that there is more game and strategy to it than um, people who haven't dug into it might see. But that experience, my favorite part of Cosmic Encounter is when four people around go, but wait, but now
Yeah,
this happens. No, well, now this is going to happen.
the
And
the the thing about Cosmic Encounter is it's fun even if you're not into the strategy,
right.
which makes it but you can't. I understood there was strategy in that game. I just didn't care. I did not play that game enough to say I have to win Cosmic Encounter. That's my life goal.
Exactly. Well, as I was putting away heat and I came back to our table, um, I saw a couple of or a few young folks um, who had gotten Cosmic Encounter from the game library. And they had the rules books out and they were like laboriously going over the setup. So I go over to them and I just say, and this is something that doesn't come naturally to me, right? Inserting myself into other people. Um, I'm gonna, I might edit that out.
Yeah, might want to take another pass at that. I wasn't going to say anything.
So that's something that doesn't come naturally to me. Just sort of walking up to people and being on and being like, "Hey, let's play a game together." I have some deep-seated emotional baggage about asking people to play games and being rejected. Um, but despite that, I come up and say, "Hey, have you ever played that before?" Oh, it's one of my favorite games. I've run it at conventions. I say conventions, I mean Council of Five Nations.
Right.
But I run it a lot before. It's my favorite game. I'm very familiar with it. Would you like me to teach it to you? And I sat down with them and I taught them the rules, and we laughed the entire time. Um, I nudged them to pick fights with each other. I had this moment of, do I try to play nice or do I try to play hard and give them that sort of experience of what Cosmic Encounter could be? I erred on the side of, let's see if we can end this in an hour and a half. And it was just a riot, and to get to really share. Um, I played board games all my life, but Cosmic is kind of my first love in a lot of ways. And to get to really share that with people and see them kind of fall in love with this game that's almost as old as I am was just absolutely magical. And thank God I had that experience, and like the last experience of the day for me of the trip, because it was such a high note to end on and really reminded me of what you said, that the point of this isn't the games, isn't the winning. I get kind of tired of playing with people where that is the point, but it was the friends, the bondings, that experience, and then ending the ride with just a nice long talk in the car on the way back with my friends. Um, that was not the experience. That was not what I was expecting to get out of this experience. But I'm really glad it was there, and it was kind of beautiful.
That's, that's very cool. So, are you thinking of going back again to PAX Unplugged?
So if you had asked me on Saturday, it would be a hard no. Been there, done that. If you asked me on Sunday, it would have been probably not. I think I've done that. Like I said, it's traveling is not comfortable for me. Um, but as I was sort of reflecting on thinking back on it, um, I did come up with the circumstances in which I would do this again. And that's if you came. Because going back to it's the experience, it's the friend, and getting to show you what this is, even though I have no idea if you would be comfortable or would actually like it.
I have been to conventions. I have been to more conventions than you.
Yes.
I've been to some of the big ones. I I gotta say, the conventions I like are the small ones like Council of Five Nations
Hmm.
and RavenCon and some of these little ones where you can hang out and you can have that sort of experience.
Right.
Because the big ones where it's just this press of humanity, you don't get as much fun. I and it's the one gaming convention I went to, and this one was a smaller one, but it just one of the things my goal going to conventions, I would never go to a gaming convention without a friend again,
Yeah.
because you gotta have people on the same level. And we played this. I played a old school D&D game where you were going to kill giants. And this is like first edition D&D. So this is the old school D&D.
So it's like against the
And
giants, against the frost giants, that whole series of stuff.
I think so. I don't remember the actual module, but I do remember that there was this one point in the game where you broke into the giant's nursery
Yep. Yep.
and there were a bunch of baby giants, and the game just expected you to slaughter the babies because they were human sized. The baby giant were human sized, so it would be a fair fight. Go slaughter the babies. And half the people at the table, myself included, were having that sort of ironic humor laugh of it. Is like, we can't take this seriously, and we were on to go off module. We were like, all right, we are not slaughtering babies. We're turning around back to the village and we're killing the villagers who sent us to slaughter babies, because I can tell who's evil here, and it's not the baby.
Oh,
and
oh.
and the other half were like, no, we got to do the module, got to go in, and it was like, oh, this isn't fun. But yeah, no, I like the smaller conventions where you can get to know people and have that experience that you've talked about.
Yeah.
So that and Council of Five Nations, I thought it was fun. It was a bunch of drinking buddies in a totalitarian state, which worked out pretty well. In that,
I will tell my friends on the governing council that that's how it's perceived.
it's like, there will be order, there will be structure, but then have fun, whatever. and I kind of think that worked. It was like, all right, when it's getting to and from the table, there's no screwing around, dude. This is how things work. Um, but then once you're there, yeah, have fun. So it, it, those are cooler conventions where you can sort of get to know. And I've had really good experiences like you've had of going to conventions and just having these conversations and meeting people
Yeah.
and sharing your love. And then I went to Comic-Con. Never again with that. My God, I have
Yeah.
no idea why anyone would want to do that.
Yeah. Like
But
we were talking, it's like, oh, maybe we should try Gen Con someday. Like, no. No, we should not try Gen Con someday.
Uh, so was this like a place with cosplayers, or was it just nerds hanging out?
It was mostly nerds hanging out. There was some
Yeah.
cosplay, a fair amount of it was actually in the booths and stuff like that, people
Okay.
demoing stuff. Um, but there were some there I think were more in, oddly enough, the RPG sections.
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
figure. Um, but yeah, it didn't have like the media presence of a Comic Con or something like that. So
Yeah.
there wasn't, the only um sort of like celebrities were YouTubers, you
Yeah.
know. The gang from Shop and Sit Down did a fantastic hardboard courtroom, they called it, where they had
Hmm.
people come up to the microphone and like call out their friends for um you know we think everyone who takes a long term should be called a a, a Steven turn or something, and I want
Hmm.
you to do a court ruling that everyone has to call that. And they are funny people, and so I almost bumped in literally to Ava Foxworth from it, as I wasn't turning around fast enough. Um, got to see how tall Tom Vassell is in real life. Bill Amend from
Whoa,
Foxtrot,
whoa, whoa. How tall is he in real life? You can't
tall.
just. Okay. I was like, okay, he's either got to be really tall or really short, and
He
there's
is
camera
tall, but
pictures.
he always has a hat, so I feel like he tries to cheat that extra inch.
Okay. Yep. Go on. There was one
I
more name on the list. All right. Well, it's gone now.
Bill
I
Amend, who
entered.
does the Foxtrot cartoon,
Oh,
was
okay.
their sign and stuff, which is like a little bit of, okay, I guess that makes sense.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't. I don't know.
It's
The
clearly
comic
geeky.
people, yeah, the comic people will go anywhere.
Right.
They're sort of always there, no matter the con. There'll be one or two comic person people hanging out.
Exactly.
Oh, so that is cool. Anything else interesting happening, or
Nah,
I guess not.
I guess not.
What games did you buy?
So, I bought the Big Shuffle, the film noir one.
Okay.
I bought. Oh, I was finally able to buy a copy of Scout. I don't know if this is on your radar. Scout is a small, almost trick-taking game. There were a lot of video reviews about it, and it went out of, like, sold out instantly. So probably close to a year, it's been on my radar and just not buyable. So they had a ton of copies of that, and I was thrilled to finally pick that up. I probably could have gotten it anywhere, but I got the Firefly deck building game, Firefly Misbehaving.
Oh,
So I'm very curious to finally break that out. Um, I think that's, and we didn't buy it there, but we found a reasonably priced copy of Heat Pedal to the Metal. Um, it was one of those things where the retailer price just seemed a bit wrong for what you were getting. And then we found somebody who had it like for $50 instead of the 75
oh.
online, but you have to, do $100 to not pay shipping. So we each bought a copy because we both wanted a copy, and I'm looking forward to whenever that shows up.
So is PAX a good place for deals? If you were looking for deals on games, is that a reason to go?
I didn't see a whole lot of discounting.
Hmm.
So like I was able to get Firefly for like $10 off, and they said that if you buy three things, you'll get a fourth of the cheapest for free, but otherwise things were only like $10 or $15 off, which was
Hmm.
still sort of worth it for something I've been interested in. But a lot of the booths, it kind of seemed like they were doing like full retail prices.
Hmm. Okay. So How about finding things you've never seen before? Or, I mean, you've seen almost everything, so maybe not for you.
Not comparatively. There was a lot of stuff that I hadn't
Yeah.
seen before, but there wasn't a lot of stuff that I was surprised by, right? So a
Mm,
lot of the stuff that I hadn't seen was stuff that I just wasn't like interested or looking for. There were a
mm,
couple surprises. We did get to play something I think called Astra, which is a strange thing where you're looking for constellations, and so you have a tableau of constellations, and you sort of mark off stars, and when you collect them, you get stuff, and that was kind of neat. And I think Scott picked up or maybe Tyler picked up a copy of that. He was taken with that, and that's one that I don't know that we would have discovered. I would never have looked into the Big Shuffle if they didn't have those characters selling it.
mm.
Um, and so stuff like that.
Huh. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to tell from your trip, or?
No, I'm glad to be back.
Okay.
I'm,
So next year, Dragon Con, right?
right. Right. Glad to be back. We, Scott is still traveling, so that's why we're not
Mm,
playing Arkham Horror tonight. But ultimately, I'm okay with that. I think I got like 5 hours of sleep each night of the weekend.
mm.
So it's going to take me a while to catch up on that. So it was definitely an exhausting, if worthwhile, experience.
All right.
So that being said, I might shut down and go to bed.
All right. Well, it was fun talking to you, anyways, and
Absolutely.
we'll have to go to a con together. I want to give everything a little bit more time, and then I'll go back to
That sounds fair.
the cauldrons of
That sounds
humanity.
fair. Hey, they're talking about trying to figure out how to do CouncilCon. That's the new name for the Council of Five Nations next
Oh,
year. So they're looking ahead for that. So maybe you can come
why
back
they
up for
change the
that.
name?
Well, the whole cultural appropriation side of things.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, it was nice talking to you. I do not endorse any opinions expressed by Eric Gimbel ever.
It's good enough.
All right, my cat needs me to play with him.
All right.
Have a good night, my friend, and have a good night, everyone.
Good night.